Right, everybody. Gonna do a little bit of a tutorial on how to make graphics like this kind of pop. I know that's a very vague description, but that's the only thing I can think of. So, first of all, thank you to Matt Wyatt, who put this graphic together in short time. Gave the need of having a quickly done graphic and put this together in no time. So I appreciate that. I will give everyone just some tips to kind of make these graphics pop a little bit. Again, that's not saying that there's anything wrong with this graphic. I think it looks great. I think that there are some excellent elements that are great. Again, nothing wrong, but I do want to give some ideas about how to kind of make these pop a little bit, uh, especially um, for sports graphics. All right, so the first thing I would do, I'm just going to take this whole thing, group it together. That way we have a before and after kind of deal. Um, Before, and then I'll just copy and after, and turn off before. All right, so first thing I'll do, select your cutout. One thing you can do with your cutouts, go to your filter. You can't really see it on the screen, but there's your toolbar up here. It's filter, camera raw filter. What I like to do first, I usually just play and hit auto first and see what it gives me. It darkens it just a little bit. You'll see kind of what the way it adjusts things. Again, you can play with it, see kind of how you want it. I like it a little lighter. The effects panel, I'll usually use this a lot. Clarity, see what it does if you turn it all the way up, all the way down. That gives you more of a ethereal kind of look, and this gives you more of a gritty, kind of rough look. So I try to go about there. You can again play with all of these things that show you some different looks that you can get. Obviously, I'm not going to use that. Vignette is more for like something that's uh, like your landscape or something like that. Grain will give you a little bit of grain. Texture is similar to clarity. It just gives everything a little bit more texture, and I don't generally use that either. Occasionally I do, but so that's what I want to do. Double click that to get it back to zero. Curve, I'll sometimes use this too. It does a lot of the same things as the light panel. Um, as you see, pull up the shadows, pull down darks, pull up darks, give it light, highlights. Again, there's not a whole lot of difference between the ones up in the top panel and this one. I don't really know what, if any, difference there is. You can also do uh, color curves if you want to, add tint or anything like that with red, green, and blue. As you see what it's kind of doing. So I'll just turn that off. I don't want that. Uh, like I said, I'll turn that off. There we go. If you accidentally get in there and mess with it, you can double click it and it'll get you back to normal. All right. So from this point, um, look at some things. You can go noise reduction. There's not a whole lot of noise that I'm gonna have to worry about here. But if you have something that's kind of grainy or a little less sharp, you can go sharpen. And as you see, it'll do that. Don't want to do too much because it gets looking weird. But if you feel like it's a little soft, you can give it a little bit of sharpening, and you can go noise reduction. As you see, it really smooths out the skin. Um, Again, it's up to you whether or not you use those. Some photos and images need it more than others. I don't really mess with that. Let's see. I really don't mess with the optics. You can kind of play with it, and again, I would encourage playing with these, see what they do. It kind of balloons it out, shrinks it. Again, I would just not mess with that if you don't have to. Vignettes the same way, same thing. You can't even really see what it does on this. Um, you go way back to zero. Don't really use these either. Color grading, it'll show you some different ways if you want to give it a little bit of tint. I kind of like having a little bit of an orange tint because of the scene. Um, You're adjusting midtones, highlights, and shadows here. I'll leave the shadows alone, or the highlights alone. Whoops. There we go. But I do like a little bit of orange there because, again, the scene kind of calls for it. Color mixer, again, you can do this in other ways and go through here and you can really adjust specific colors. There's really not any greens to look at in this particular thing. So reds, you can see her skin, her lips kind of go gray. The red, you can really pop up the reds to make the reds stand out. Blues, you can really adjust the color just on a singular level. These are hard because sometimes, as you see, like when I'm moving the purple, it'll recognize it as blue. Yellow sometimes catches in the skin. Oranges do the same. As you see, the oranges, you turn her into an Oompa Loompa, and you turn her into the Night of the Living Dead. So again, use this sparingly. I'll bump it up a little bit, give her a little bit of a tan. Again, because I like the fact that the scene is what it is. So you hit OK. As you see, it kind of gives you a little bit more of a pop. I'll just turn it off and on just to show the difference. So it just makes it pop a little bit more. It's not less flat, is what I would say. Another thing, I should have done this before, but in order to, here, I'll do it this way. I'll turn this back on. I will duplicate this layer into our, back into our after. What I would do before you make all those adjustments, right click, convert to smart object. That way, anything you do on the camera raw side, anything you do will be saved. And you don't have to worry about going, oh, you know what? I really don't like it like that. I need to do it differently. Um, you know, you can do that. I'll show you in just a second kind of how that works. Color grading, I think I did the shadows a little bit, midtones a little bit. It's a little much. Let me see, a little much. And this also lets you kind of go back and forth with the illumination here. Okay, so as you see, the difference between the one I did before and the one I just did on the smart object, you can turn off and on that. So if you say, oh, you know what, I don't really like that, I want to change its color, double click it, and all of those settings, the way you had them, are right there, so you don't lose them. So that's the way I would do it. Just delete that for now. I'll start from here because once you start from here, those settings have already been locked in. So, okay. So another thing I would do to kind of get a cutout to look like it's a part of a scene and not just a cutout. There, you can do an inner shadow. Now, obviously, that's not exactly the settings we want. The inner shadow just kind of gives a little slight bit of dimension. You can mess with, again, the contour and get it, kind of the way you want it. Obviously, there's some things that work better than others. This straight one works fine with me. You can adjust the size. If you have more of a dark scene, you can kind of do that. Since this is, I just want it to be subtle. I don't want it to be super overpowering. As you see, it just kind of gives it that subtle little bit of dimension to make it seem like she's a part of, excuse me, this scene. And you can again mess with the contours if you want. There's not really much there. Okay, so let's see. Say okay. Again, you can see kind of before after. Not a lot, but it is subtle and it makes it seem like she's part of the scene. So something else I would do a lot of times, double click your right object or your right object, your smart object. Double click, it'll open separately. I know I've already kind of colored her to the scene, but to do it a little more accurately, you can go to Image, Adjustments, Match Color. Select the source. This is the source. It's going to do a merged thing first. You'll go down and find your background. So the road is the background and it'll show you right there. And that's obviously not great. So we're going to mess with these, this panel, kind of fade it. You can go neutralize and just kind of play with that until you get it to where you feel like, okay, that's kind of gives me that the match to the actual background. So see how it looks, save. Again, I wouldn't close this just yet because you can always go back and can Command Z to make sure you can back out of it. So that already kind of changes it a little bit. And I'll show you again before and after. So again, just looks like she's a little bit more in the scene itself. Another way to do this, again, there are some other things you can do to make it a little more interesting visually. I usually like to create a new layer, put a little bit of a gradient um, underneath. It doesn't have to be a lot, but just a little bit. Again, just adds a little bit of a dimensional layer, and you can honestly do it here too on the road. Um, Looks like there's already a little bit there that Matt has put on there. Good job. That's kind of turns it a little bit blue and makes her pop out. I like that. So I don't even worry about that, to be honest with you. I might do just a little bit dark. Whoops. Oh, because I'm underneath. There we go. All right. Okay. So I like that. I like the way it is right there. Okay. Um, Something else we can do. Oh, I see when I was doing that. I was in the old school gradient adjustment layer here. So if I go to gradient, go classic gradient and switch that to my black, there we go. And now it gives it kind of a, yeah, and I won't do it very much. Again, very subtle. Um, Turn it off and on just kind of gives you a look. Um, let's see. Something I do usually as a finisher to kind of, again, make graphics look kind of like they are um, consistently together. First of all, um, another thing you can do before I go there, I keep jumping ahead. So click on your background layer, and I'm going to make it a little bit blurry. I'm not going to totally blur it out because we want to keep some of it, but just a little bit of a blur so that she kind of pops. She's the point, or she's the focal point, so she needs to pop a little bit more than maybe the background, but we still want to see the background. So that gives it a little bit of a blur. Um, a little bit of depth of field. And sometimes I'll even do it to them. I'll go and go tilt shift blur, move this to where it's not on her. But as you see, it's a little bit on the bottom. And so just bring it down. Again, you can kind of mess with this to your liking. Bring it down. Just makes it a little more interesting, kind of how you could do it, however you want it. But I'll take it off for now because I think again you want to, if you're taking a picture of her, um, she is the focal point, so her whole body will probably be in focus while the background will be a little blurred. Okay, so what I was saying before I got to there, color lookups. So again, these are fun to play with because you can really do a lot of cool stuff and make stuff look uniform. As you see, that kind of makes it look a little more uniform already right there. That's not necessarily what I'll use, but you can go through here and you can use these in a lot of different ways. You can turn on blending modes to kind of get a different look or effect, change the opacity to get different looks and effects that you want. I'll just go normal, just kind of go through these and show you all what they do. These are the default that are on there. I'll show you a couple that I use pretty extensively. Um, this is fun to use on some things. Obviously, not on this exactly, although we could use it on this if we wanted to, but just gives it some tint. Go back to your normal, all colors, film stock. Used to use this a lot. I do not do it as much anymore. Just I used to use it on lighten and kind of give it that little bit of a matte look, where it kind of crushes out or washes out the blacks a little bit and the dark colors. Used to do it a lot. Don't do it as much anymore. Um, these Fuji, again, I use this one a lot, just to give it a little bit of a faded film effect. Um, And this one is the same, I believe. Yeah, it's just a little different. It changes the colors. You do have to be careful sometimes because it will change the colors that you want. And sometimes what you can do if you want to preserve the brightness of a color or the kind of the richness of a color, you can go in with your brush, make sure you're on the mask, and kind of brush out certain colors that you want to kind of preserve. And I'll show you kind of what that looks like. There you go. See, it kind of takes out a little bit of that matte to where the color is preserved a little bit more. All right, so already looking more kind of blended into the background. So I will. There's nothing wrong with using multiple color lookups. Sometimes I'll use multiple if I need to. Yeah, there's some that again work better than others and work with certain compositions better than the other. And again, you can use your blending modes to get different looks. And this is just going to be based on trial and error, really. So yeah. All right. So let me see if there's anything else that I could possibly do to this one. You can double up on those two. That'll compound the effect. Uh, this is probably fine. All right, so I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm gonna delete that. You can also do something with gradient maps. Um, there's all sorts of different gradient maps that are already on there as default. These cloud ones don't really do much for me. The oranges, as you see, it kind of does that. But what this will do, obviously, you're not going to use it like this. But you can again change the color mode or the blending mode and really get some different looking stuff. Some of it not really stuff we would use, but again, like something like that. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to use pink, but if let's say there's a pink out game, just a nice little gradient map that kind of gives you an overall look of pink. Soft light, even better. You can kind of turn it down. And I think what we can do, honestly, with this composition with orange, we can do something similar. Um, Although to be frank, I kind of like the pink better. Um, yeah, so that's how that kind of works. I don't know. I think it adds something, to be honest with you. Let me just pull it down just a little bit. I want to be a little more subtle, but it just kind of makes it, I don't know. What do you think? Makes it pop a little bit. Okay. Something else I will do sometimes is add some noise. So I do a solid color, generally above everything that I've already done. So I'll like make it a gray. Sometimes if the scene is like red, I'll do it red. It just depends. So I'll do it gray for right now. You go filter, noise, add noise. It's going to say you want to convert this, say yes. Again, you can mess with how much grain and noise you have. You can mess with the kind of style it is. You can mess with it and take out uh, monochromatic, make it color grain. So you can kind of do it however you want. So I'll just do a little subtle and then change your blending mode. I'll change it to soft light and then pull down your opacity. It gives it kind of a grain over the whole thing that just sometimes it adds a cool little effect, cool little look. Um, Another thing you can do, I'll just do something with the text here. Let's see. If we want any kind of subtle difference with the text, maybe adding a little bit of a little bit of a gradient, just to kind of again make that text pop a little bit. Yeah, I don't mind that. Sometimes you can even take if there's a light source or something, then take that and like and make sure it kind of. Oh, I just realized it's doing my color again. So let me go back to the basics here. There we go. All right, so let me delete that, link it. So what I'm doing here when I do that, you can either hover between this, so I'll turn it off. So you hover between layers, and if you hit Option and click, it'll link it. you hit option again, and it'll unlink it. This links it to the road trip. So if I didn't have it linked and I tried the gradient, it would do that. But when I link it, it only affects the text or the layer it's linked to. All right, so maybe sample some of that cloud. There we go. So anyway, just makes it a little more interesting, a little bit more um, dynamic. So I will again turn off on, just, gives it a little bit more character and pop. Um, so anyway, if you have any questions or anything, or another thing before I actually go here, another thing you can do is add some sort of texture. Let's just say I have several of them that are already on my computer, but I'll let me see. Let me share Finder as well. Um, all right, so let me go OneDrive. What? Elements. Actually, it is Elements. Uh, Backgrounds. So let me just say, I'll just use no, not glue. You can find usually you can find a bunch of textures. Just search Google for uh, texture backgrounds or whatever kind of texture you want. I have a bunch of them. I just don't know which one I really want to do. Um, let's see. Let's see. Wood grain, no. No. Noise, that's actually video. White paper overlays. That's let's see, textures. Here we go. Got a bunch of these. I don't know if I like these. So I'll just use something like this and pull it into our scene. Um, Again, this is just to add a little bit of texture, a little bit of um, character to this. You can stretch. I don't mind stretching it just because it's a texture. Enter, and then again, change your blending mode to like lighten or screen. Generally, will get the job done. Sometimes you can use linear add. So I like it to be a little more subtle, so I'll just turn it again down a little bit. I don't like it over her face, so I'll add a layer mask and then just kind of brush out the places where it's really obviously over her face. And again, you got to be careful with these two because they can change color that you might not want changed. Um, this one didn't as much, but yeah. All right. So if you have any questions or need anything, just let me know. Thanks.